Good day, everybody. This is Rob Mazak. I am a psychic medium, and I do a lot of different podcasts on all kinds of topics. They range from A to Z and all the way in between. And what I like to do is just roll with some thoughts or some ideas and see where that idea or those thoughts take us. Today, I kind of wanted to talk about the struggle. Now, the struggle could mean a lot of things for a lot of people. And everybody is going through struggles. I don't care really who you are, what position you hold, how much money you make, how successful you are, how many things you have, how much money you have in the bank. There's always struggles. There's always things to go through. Now, granted, when you are in the lower end category, what I mean by that is if your money doesn't keep up with your month and you don't have a lot of status or success or whatever you look at success as, it seems that a lot of struggles find you. The struggles kind of choose where you're going to experience life. Now, it is a little bit easier, obviously, when you have more money and status and success, quote unquote, whatever that is, that you can kind of choose your own pain in a lot of ways. But I can tell you, everybody goes through it. Everybody has something that they're working through, something that they're struggling with. I'm here behind this mic and I've had a lot of conversations about dreams and desires and goals and success and all kinds of different things. And I guess I don't want anybody to think out there that I am talking behind this mic as a perfect person or a person with a perfect life that doesn't have struggles. Let me tell you, we all have them. If you're a human being anyway, you always have struggles. It's just part of life. And in my opinion, you've probably heard me say this many times, that we are basically a soul having a human experience or spirit having a human experience. And so if we're coming from that idea of perfection or no emotions or no struggles or no time or any of that from the spiritual realm, if you will, and coming into this meat suit, we are always going to have struggles, because imagine coming from a place like that where you're just existing, you're just being, you don't really have feelings, you don't really have time constraints, you don't have any of those things, and you come into this density. Oh my goodness, I mean, we are a program of emotions if we are nothing else. And so we are always going to have something that seems to bother us, something that seems to weigh us down. And in most cases, that gives us excuses not to do things that we know we should do, or not do things that we shouldn't. But we all have to make choices. The struggle and emotions and feelings really shouldn't be part of what it is we've decided we want to do. I mean, let's face it. Most of us have jobs, or we've had jobs, or we know people that have had jobs. It's kind of the same way for life. In this analogy is that if you want to keep that job, if you want to have that paycheck at the end of every week or every 2 weeks or every month or whenever you get paid, it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what's going on at home. It doesn't matter that your back hurts or your knees hurt or you woke up hungover or none of those things. You have to show up for work in order to have that paycheck and to keep that job. And we are basically helping someone else create their dream or chase their dream by supporting their business as an employee, right? I think we really got to take a step back. I'm not saying, we're not going to suggest you go quit your job and chase your dream. Chase your dreams in the time you have outside of work. We'll come back around to that perhaps. But what I'm trying to say is that we have to really choose or make choices every day that are going to support our goals, our dreams, and what we want in life, because nobody else is going to do that for us. I don't really care who you are. You have your own ideas and your own goals and your own dreams, whether you're married or you're not married or in relationships or you live with your parents. It doesn't matter. You have your own agenda, your own ideas, your own things that you would like to accomplish and do. But I tell you what, I hear more excuses than I ever do reasons for doing things or chasing things or acquiring things, especially your dreams and your goals. There's a lot of outright excuses. There's a lot of outright, just plain in sight excuses. I hear it all the time. My favorite is I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have the right car. I don't have the right education. I don't have the right skin color. Let me tell you, none of those things are really good excuses, because I know many, many people that are extremely successful. They had a lot of those same issues. They started without money. They're definitely the wrong skin color in a lot of cases, or a lot of the ethnicity is not what they think it should be. They grew up in a poor part of town or in a different country. Let me tell you, it doesn't really, really matter. I mean, excuses really get you nowhere. Now, we talk about outright excuses because I hear them all the time from everybody as to why they can't do something or get something or go after something. Especially when you're talking to them about their dreams, and it's like, why, when you finally get the dream out of them, sometimes that's hard. And the next question I always have is, why aren't you doing that? Oh my gosh, the excuses just come flying. And we all have them. And so I tried a little experiment. I'm maybe, or probably, perhaps better than most. I don't like to use excuses a lot. But I think sometimes there's subtle excuses. How do I want to say that? A subconscious excuse where you don't even know that it's happening. So I was listening to a motivational podcast, which I do a lot of that. Try to feed my mind with something a little bit more than the garbage that is out there. If you look at all the news that's going on, it's craziness, right? And so I'm trying to feed my mind with a lot of cool things. I heard somebody say the other day on one of those podcasts that if you want to be successful, pack your calendar. And he went on to say that I can tell how successful you are or you're going to be by looking at your calendar. And I really thought about that. So I decided to start tracking the things I do, not for work, not for travel, things that I'm doing extra outside of my work commitments and getting to and from work that are supposed to be pushing me towards my goals and my dreams. Start tracking the actual time. And I thought I was doing a whole lot more than I was, or I am. When you really put it on paper and you really put it on the calendar, there's a lot of blank space, a lot of white space. I say that because we think in our mind, our conscious mind, really thinks we're doing a lot. And in reality, a lot of times we are not. David Goggins, I think, puts it very well. I'm not sure if it's his quote or his idea, but he talks about the fact that, at least physically, when we think we have reached the final and we just cannot do any more. We can't take another step. We can't raise our eyebrows. We can't do anything. We're just hit the wall. He said that literally we are only at about 40%. Our mind really tries to protect us from doing things that are going to be painful or hurtful or cause discomfort. Our mind knows this better than anything else. And it's a good thing if you use it right. But at the same time, it is going to try to protect you from the unknown. And you pushing yourself too far and you're getting out of that comfort zone. It's not comfortable, it's not secure, any of that, right? And I guess I was a little more surprised at my calendar looking at it. And maybe I'm not putting everything on there like I should. It's probably not true. That sounds like an excuse, doesn't it? But I really saw a lot of white space. And so, am I really, really doing everything I can to pursue my goals? It doesn't look like it. Now, granted, I do a lot more than I think others do, but that doesn't make any difference when I'm comparing to others. I can only compare my journey to myself, because we are all here to do our own journey, to have our own journey, to have our own experience. We come into this world, planned or unplanned, but there is an agenda, I think, in the background, or milestones we're supposed to reach. But with our free will, we have ideas and we are born with them. I think they're encoded in our DNA. I think they're there when we come into this world. We may not realize it. We have things that we truly want to do. And once we get past childhood, we just kind of put that aside and, oh, I got to pay the bills. I got to go to work. I'm tired. I'm just going to pop in front of the TV because I need to de-stress. I'm going to drink 2-3 hours after work because I'm so stressed out, and on and on and on. And we forget that what we're doing is sabotaging our own goals, our own ideals that we've had as a kid. I mean, if you look at a lot of religious texts, it talks about that. It's like thinking as a child is something that is talked about quite a bit. And why would you think that is? I mean, when we grow older, like I am, there's a lot more wisdom and a lot more things that help our decisions and help us along our ways to make decisions and things like that. But at the same time, we also develop a lot of limitations. A lot of things are just conditioned in our subconscious through a lot of different ways, through programming, through school, through parents, through teachers, and on and on. And I'm not saying that happens on purpose from our family and our teachers and our loved ones, but they're only going off of what they've been conditioned to do. And so there's never really any change. And I think, though, that we have to figure out how to become more childlike in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that you need to go roll around in the grass and chase the puppy dogs around. I mean, I guess that would make sense too. But I think it's more about the idea of operating on a belief system that is absolutely unlimited, in that you know that you could do anything and you're going to do anything, and that's your big idea. I mean, if you ask any child, especially in their, 4 or 5 years old, what they want to be, I mean, they have these elaborate ideas. They want to be astronauts. They want to be ballerinas. They want to be firemen. It's just on and on and on. They have these huge goals and ideas. But when we become an adult, we start to begin to realize how difficult those ideas really are. And a lot of times we're just going to settle on paycheck to paycheck, getting a job, hanging out with your buddies after work, watching football, watching TV, doing all the things that are just normal, I guess, or accepted to do. And we're not really going out of our way to become something different or better. And we look back at our life, or if you do look back at your life yesterday, last week, last month, last year, 10 years ago, and you'll probably find, if you're really honest with yourself, which I am trying to be a lot more now, especially looking at my calendar like we talked about, is that how much has really changed? I would have to say, for me, a lot has changed. And I have accepted change and made change and done a lot of different things. But the question really comes down to, is that change supporting where you want to go in life, or where you want to end up, or what goal or dream you have that's out there? So really, you have to go almost eccentric, I guess is the right word. You have to come out of balance. You have to go on the top side of that to really get something out of life that you want. I mean, if you look at Kobe Bryant's story, it is just crazy. I know he's not with us anymore, but he was one of the best basketball players out there, arguably. I'm sure people have other ideas who that is. But the thing is that he had this unbelievable work ethic towards learning to be the best basketball player that he could. You hear stories about him and being at the gym at 3 a.m. or even working out for 2 hours or more before a game even starts. I mean, his whole life was built around becoming and being the best basketball player he could be. I'm not saying that we all have that amount of time now. I mean, some of us are embedded with families and kids and dogs and cats and all these things that really kind of take away our time. But I guarantee you, if you were to do that experiment like I'm doing, you would find that there's a lot of white space there, that there's some things you could be doing, or that there's time to do some of these things. And we're just not doing them. And we can come up with all kinds of excuses. Like the military says, I love the saying, right? When we're talking about the effective range of a weapon, excuses have an effective range of 0. They take you nowhere. They might make you feel good. They might give you a reason to back off. And they might give you a reason to do other things instead of what you should be doing or what you want to be doing. But that also has something to do with the fact that most of us don't even know what we want. And we're just kind of floating through life, and we're just kind of driving around in our car, so to speak, without a direction, without a destination. And we wonder why we find ourselves in places that are undesirable or in situations that are just not fun or good. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we're not doing things on purpose. We're not living on purpose. We're not designing our life. I guess that's a good way to put that. And we also, in a lot of ways, I know a lot of people anyway, that love to chase a lot of different ideas, hoping that one of them will work out. I fall prey to that a lot. I just want to be good at everything, and sometimes you just have to drill it down to just a handful of things or a couple of things. Really focus on it and become the best that you can. I'm going to use an example. I don't get anything for this or anything like that, but there's an organization out there, I think, called the Baptist Men's Health Organization. And this example is used by my boss a lot when he talks about being the best at something. They do one thing. They feed people. Cities and the governments and the different agencies will contact them because they know they're the best at it. It's like, I need this. We have a situation, a hurricane came through. We need you on the ground tomorrow morning to help feed people. And they are so good at it that everybody is reaching out to them. It comes down to that one thing, right? Feeding people. That is what they are good at. That's what they're best at. I can't say I know a whole lot about that organization. I've worked with them here and there on different emergencies. But that also circles back to that. What is the one thing that you need to be good at? Even in the real estate market, there's a book called The One Thing, I believe, something like that. I don't quote me on that title, but it's something like that. But it talks about the fact that everything that you do needs to support the ultimate goal, the one thing. You got to have clients in order to have sales. Everything cascades off of working towards getting clients and connecting with people. The same thing applies with goals and ideas and where you want to go in life. Everything that you're going after should support where you're going. If it doesn't, then you might want to consider not doing that. I'm not saying don't have a good time, don't rest. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be down times. Because I tell you, this weekend, I have been running so hard for a long time on all these missions and now a new job. I went to bed at 6:30 the other night, 6:30 in the evening, And last night I think I went to sleep at around 7:30 and slept for 12 hours, and I don't usually do that. Sometimes you just need to reset and relax. I get that. But the thing is, if that's your constant, then you won't get anywhere. What I mean by keeping focused on the goal is going 1,000% every day all the time may not work for everybody, right? But you have to put that in writing, put that in stone, put that in a plan, so that you understand that you're not losing sight of that goal, and we need to keep moving forward. Now, I know I talk a lot about this stuff and about dreams and goals. I think because it's just about everybody I've worked with, at least initially, had no idea where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do, and it seems like that's what a lot of people are wrapped around, and they're just kind of wandering through life. They get married, they have kids, they got jobs, they got bills, they got all these things, and the next thing you know, they're old, and they're like, what the hell happened? Why didn't I take opportunities when I had them, especially when you look back? Most people that are, nearing their time of death don't really think about a lot of things other than their regrets. Why didn't they do these things? Why didn't they chase these things? In my opinion, we should hit the grave when we all do, completely empty, not leaving anything other than on the fields, or like in sports, right? You should leave everything you have on the field, so when you come off, you are done. And I think we should end our time here like that, right? I think we should put everything we can into it to get as many experiences as we can, do the things that we want to do, and just go after them. Because, I believe that there's other lives that we've had before this and we're going to have after this. And, I don't know if that's complete. I can't prove that until that happens. But what if this is the only thing we ever get to have? What is this? What if this is the only life we get? Why are we going to watch TV? Why are we going to watch people making millions and we're not? I'm not saying money's everything, but it really is in a lot of ways, because it helps us do things in life for good, right? And we can do so much more to help people if we have resources. I'm not saying we need resources to help people. Don't use that excuse, people. I hear that a lot too. I would give if I had some, once I get a bunch of money, I'll give a bunch. Well, you probably aren't going to get a lot of money with that attitude, because the universe or God or whatever you believe is the outside or external force, I think they're really looking to see what they can trust you with, where your faith is, and what you're actually going to be doing with what you have. You get more responsibility and affluence and all those things, in my opinion, when you prove your worth with the things that you have. Forget there's an actual quote or verse in Bibles and other things. We got to be able to look down the road. I'm not saying live for the future, but if we have a future, if we have a tomorrow, if we have another year, another 10 years or 100 years, I think it's better to be prepared for that than to not be prepared at all. In that fine life of balance, I get it. We can't save up all our money for a future because we may not actually have one. Then we're not living life. Right? I get that. And we can't spend it all because we might live for a very long time, and then we're living in poverty and not much fun times, I guess you'd say. So life is a real interesting balance, and understanding balance is great, because it's nice to know where your center is, and when you are low and when you are high. You have to, I think, go out of that balance, that comfort zone, when you're trying to get something. You have to go to the edges of things that are just very uncomfortable, very tiring, very painful sometimes, mentally, spiritually, physically. Knowing what the balance is important, because you know when you come back to reset, take that rest time that you need. You know what that balance feels like, that center place. But if we always stay there, if we always listen to people, you got to have balance. Sure you do. You have to understand the balance, I think is a better way to put that, so that we can then know or gauge where we are in life and how much effort we're actually putting in. Because if we're only balanced and we're only kind of in that little lull, if you will, then we're not really getting anything out of life. Granted, we're probably not losing in life, but we are not gaining anything, right? And so you can use that as your gauge, if you will. And so I guess this is really more about excuses, isn't it? Excuses that are outright said, verbalized, written, talked about, all of that. And then those ones that are somewhere in our consciousness, probably outside of our conscious mind or subconscious, that really are excuses without actually saying them, without actually verbalizing them. I guess it's the same thing. Without knowing it, that you're doing it. Like in my example of looking at all the white space in my calendar, I'm like, okay, so I may not be making actual excuses. I may not actually be purposely not doing things. However, somewhere in my mind, in my consciousness, I am not. While I'm not fully engaged, I'm not at 100%. Granted, I'm more than 40%, but that's still not enough to really get where I want to go in life, is it? Everybody struggles. Everybody goes through it. Everybody has their own things to deal with. Doesn't matter whether I'm talking about these things or you're listening to me about these things. We all go through it. We all have to, because we're human beings. We are wound up in this emotional programming that gets also programmed through indoctrination into institutions and schools and the way we were raised and cultures and all these different things. And we get into these patterns that really become excuses in a lot of ways. And so we have to really spend some time and really look at ourselves and find that quiet time to listen to your thoughts and your mind. Ask the questions to the universe, to God, to the external force, and then listen for an answer. And you have to find that time. You have to do those things. Because if you wait until you're super tired, like I was this weekend, meditating really didn't work well because all I could do was sleep because my body and my mind were so tired. You have to find time when you can be awake, so to speak, or have enough energy to stay awake. And I get it. A lot of people are very, very uncomfortable being in the quiet, without background noise, without the cell phone in our hand and all those things. But I can tell you, you get your answers through quiet meditation, quiet thought, or quiet times. And you'd be surprised what you will get. Especially if you ask questions, your mind will go after the answers. You may not like the answers you get. Like the answer I got about, hey, you got too much white space there, buddy, on your calendar. Got it. Going to work on that. That is how we learn and how we move forward. Get away from this excuses. Let's do a little bit more life on purpose. Let's actually put it into more than first gear, second gear. Really get up there into fourth, fifth, sixth gear, whatever kind of gear you believe is the higher gears. And let's actually do something with our life. Change some things, because without change, nothing changes. If you're doing the same thing every day, switch it up a little bit. Get a piece of paper out. Type it on a document. What is it you want in your life, from your life? What kind of things do you want? And then really decide, if you're a goal setter and if you're a detail person, break it down. How do I get there? And I don't think a lot of us do that. I'm not a detail person. I struggle with it. I get it. But that's important too, because just having a big goal sometimes doesn't always do the trick, right? I would really appreciate you guys going to my website at lifebymazak.com. bymazak.com. There's a contact page. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to work with you. Got a lot of interesting services that I think really benefit people. I know really benefit people. And I encourage you guys to move forward in life, and let's talk about it. I look forward to hearing from you. You will hear from me many, many more times. Stay strong and live your life.